Hello, and welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, strategies, and insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today, I'm very lucky to be joined by Armel Leslie of RF Binder. How's it going, Armel?
Hey, Shivs, great to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for being on. And I would
Sure.
love to just start this off by learning a little bit more about your background, Armel, and a little bit more about RF Bender.
Yeah, sure. So I think my LinkedIn page says that agency life's in my blood. I've been on the agency side my whole career. So for about 25 plus years and built and sold a few agencies, boutique agencies. And the most recent one, Peaks Strategies, I sold into RF Binder. I was lucky enough to sell into RF Binder with a partner in October 2023. So I've been at the firm for coming up on 2 years. Fantastic firm. And RF Binder is a fully integrated marketing communications consultancy based in New York, but with offices nationally and partners globally. And we really take a business-driven approach to helping our clients drive brand and drive their business. So we're fully integrated across owned, earned, and paid strategies and all the positioning and messaging and execution that comes with that.
Nice. So you guys do it all, right?
Yeah, do it
Yeah.
all.
So you've been in the agency world since 1999. What's kept you excited and engaged all of these years?
Yeah, look, when you're on the agency side, you always have different clients, you're working on different things. I think business development is always exciting as well. And just how much the industry's changed, along with many other things. And I also happen to work in financial services and capital markets. That's the sector that I work in most closely, which clearly is an exciting and it's sometimes harrowing, sector to be in, right? The markets are changing, strategies are changing, technology is changing. You always have to be on your toes. And I think, again, being on the agency side, number one, and being engrossed in deep in the weeds capital markets has been quite an exciting ride.
Yeah, it's one of the nice things about the agency life, right? No day is the same. You're always dealing with different clients that have different fun challenges to solve, and it's one of those things where I know burnout is definitely a real thing, but when you work with the clients that you love and you get to do fun work that really gets your creative juices flowing, it makes every day different, which is nice.
Indeed, agreed.
Yeah. So you've had two successful exits. What made RF Binder the right home for your team after your most recent acquisition?
Yeah, so again, I was focused, my prior agents was focused predominantly on the earned media side, so on traditional PR, which
Mhm.
was my roots going back in 1999. There was barely an internet, there was no social media. I've always been a kind of traditional PR guy, if you would. And given where the industry is heading, we wanted to link up with the firm, again, that had all the capabilities in-house, research, paid and digital, creative, a full creative and design offering. So we were able to drop our clients in, offer more services, and then work with RF Binder to go out and bring in clients and just offer more services. The more entrenched you can get with clients and the more valuable you can be across the stack of offerings, the stickier they become as long-term clients.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's one of those things where clients want just one partner they can go to. And they're like, okay, you guys handle it. You guys are the experts. And I think for a long time, it's really interesting hearing your perspective because you've seen this like evolution of the agency world over the past 25, 26 years now. And I think back in like the late 2010s, being in an agency or starting an agency was the cool thing to do. Everybody wanted to do it, and everybody was trying to be everything to everybody. But I think that the real common denominator is that you really have to have experts on the team that are able to fulfill each one of those parts because things like PR are very different from things like programmatic or paid media and stuff. And I think when an agency like yours can do it really well, then it pays off.
Yeah, absolutely. Each skill set is unique. And yeah, you can't just throw someone who's a paid and digital person into an earned media situation and vice versa. But I think we do pretty well at RF Binder is we make sure that there's a subject matter expert involved in an account, even if it's on the digital side or the creative side or the messaging or whatever it is, even if they're not involved, if they're more involved, say, on the earned media side, they have to stay involved across the landscape of the account because it's the understanding the nuances of the business, the jargon, and everything else is going to help with the overall positioning.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And speaking of, you guys work heavily with financial and professional services firms. What makes this space uniquely challenging or uniquely rewarding?
Yes, RF Binder does a number of different sectors and also consumer, and through a new acquisition of a firm called Taft, also does some corporate reputation and sustainable and clean energy and other things. But yes, I focus mainly on financial and professional services. I think what makes it challenging, both tend to be highly regulated in terms of who they can reach and how they can reach, certain markets. So there are restrictions. I think extreme amounts of competition, right?
Mhm.
Which in
Mhm.
some aspects leads to M&A and acquisitions and everything else. But I would say competition, and navigating regulation and just the pace of change. Again, uncertainty, certainly with the new administration and everything else, are all challenges.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always interesting. I feel like a lot of agencies don't necessarily, oh my gosh, financial services, there's so many regulations. We want to stay away from that. And that's where a good agency can come in and
Yeah.
really thrive, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And when clients come to you guys unsure about where to invest their marketing dollars, earned, owned, or paid, how do you help them find the right balance?
Look, that's a good question. I think it's always a case by case basis. I think that's the right way to do it. It's take a look at the balance, at the budget, and then us figuring out how to set the dial, right? Again, we're very focused as consultants on driving business value. We have no dog in the race that you have to do 30% of each. If we think that the most value we can drive for you on a specific situation or project is 80% paid and 20% owned, we'll come up with that plan. But ultimately, there will always be an element of earned because earned is going to give you the opportunity to amplify that third party coverage, right? So I think
Yes.
it's always a combination of those three because all of them are giving you ways to amplify across different channels. And I think where you set that dial and kind of set that division, that percentage division is just on a case by case basis, and how you can get the most bang for each dollar.
I think some companies really look like they don't really look at earned media as a powerful. Everybody's going towards owned or paid, and people don't understand how powerful like earned media is for building credibility. I've been in a couple companies where it's made a huge impact. People are like, oh, I saw your company's article in Forbes or something like that, and that's what brought them to us. And have you seen the same thing that there's still this like a little bit of a blue ocean of hey, people, there's so many more companies that need to understand the importance of earned media.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's important. It's definitely the least understood of the three buckets in terms of the process and just how difficult it can be, which is why it's got the word earned ahead
Yeah.
of it. And I think some clients underestimate the amounts of time and effort, investment of time it takes to get those outcomes. You don't just call up Forbes, hey, write about my client, wake up the next morning and it's all done. So there's a lot of misunderstanding about if people get to check articles and how they're written and the whole process. But I think, again, working with an agency to help them understand the process goes a long way. But yes, third party validation will always be powerful, right? Because anyone can go write on their own LinkedIn or their own website, which is obviously owned and it's powerful. But again, a third party outlet is powerful. And then you also have the echo chamber of all the followers of that outlet and their distribution.
Right.
Number one. And number two, oftentimes media could lead to incredible amounts of syndication.
Yeah.
So a Forbes article could get picked up in globally by different publications that are just picking up off that. So definitely powerful, but there definitely is managing expectations and managing and having people realize the effort to get from A to B is paramount.
Yeah, and I think that will always be the inherent value of an agency as well, especially as it relates to earned media. It's hard for a company themselves to go out and do that. Not impossible, but it's hard. And that's why having connections and having the experience that you have is so important. And lastly, if a founder or marketer is listening to this and they're feeling stuck, what's one shift in thinking that you'd recommend that they would explore?
Look, I think there's so much information out there. I think just get active.
Hmm.
Even if it's just socially listening, get on different channels, see what's going on. You don't
Hmm.
have to go and post yourself. And find a few benchmarks of companies that you think are doing well. And you can oftentimes reverse engineer how they got there. So you have to be in it to win it. And I think people don't realize, not that it's easy, but again, we all have just at the fingertips of our iPhones, we are all publishers in an instant, right?
Yeah.
So I think people should get curious, look at what's going on, be bolder in getting involved in a conversation, and being authentic and trying to carve out their own niche and own brand.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice. And I think that's the way to get really good at something is to just become obsessed with it. And luckily, it's easier to do that than ever. Armel, this has been so great. Thank you so much. Where can people
Sure.
learn more about you and where can people learn more about RF Binder?
Yeah, so rfbinder.com is a URL. Go check out the website. We've got lots of good information. We have a blog. You can sign up to our newsletter. And me, I'm very active on LinkedIn. Just look me up, Armel Leslie, send me a DM or a LinkedIn request, and we can chat there.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks again for being on.
Thank you.